Coaching hot board time.
Billy Napier winning his way back onto your boards.
William Hall Napier.
Fire.
Is not on my hot board. He's not. Steve Sarkisian.
Let's do real quick
before removed this weekend from the hot board. I think Mark Stoops was already removed, but I removed him again. But Steve Sarkisian,
Dan, I slid him back on Saturday around 6:45 just to remove him again.
Well, it's like what I did with Josh Heupel. He's off too, but he was off 2 weeks in a row. I forgot that he was off the list the week before. Go ahead, Corey.
Real quick before we get into our hot board takes, just like our takes, we can all individually say how we're feeling just about the position we're in right now, because people are asking if we go undefeated. Do we think there's an outside chance of Billy, or do we think he deserves the job? Like, what's that scenario looks like? In my opinion, as bad as we lost to Miami and got dominated at home, same thing with Texas A&M. Those are just ugly marks. We threw away, in my opinion, the Tennessee game. We still this year we're 4-3, but we still haven't beat a winning team, so we haven't proven much. We beat teams that we were supposed to beat, which is an improvement, but this is not Gator standard football. So we're still not playing up to that standard. And we all got the eye test here. We're seeing the talent all over the field, and we match up with absolutely every team we're going to face. We match up, but it's just not coming out from a coaching and scheme perspective. So I still think the seat's hot, and I think it's you offer that seat. The only way to get out of that hot seat is to beat a Georgia that's ranked top 5, the Texas that's top 5. Like, you got those type of wins. Beating Mississippi State, beating Kentucky, 2 losing programs right now, I don't think changes that seat, because the schedule is just going to be what it is again next year. Nothing changes. So you got to show that you can beat some of these teams that are competing for the playoffs, because this team is talented. The blue chip ratio ranking, they got us like 11th to 14th in the country talent-wise. It just got to all add up. The math ain't mathing. So while the roster's talented, and also where the recruiting's at, there's a lot of things in the flux right here that will have to change for. If not, I think you just let it all play out. Me personally, I don't think we're going to win out. Just being a football guy, just speaking just straight up football, we're not going to win out. I don't think we're going to beat Texas or Georgia. But let the cards fall. Crazy things are happening this year. But if they don't win out, or they don't beat Texas and Georgia, I think you just run Zuckett. Let him coach to the final game. The guys are playing for each other. They're competitive. There's no reason to blow it up. So you just let it play itself out. And I'm still on coaching board talk. What are you guys' perspective before we get into that?
Shout out to Rob S. I know Jordan will back this up. Bring back Mac.
For what?
For what?
Boat shoe coordinator? Like, what are we doing here, man? Like, did you like the boat shoes? Did you like the boat shoe vibe?
I feel like it had its perks, but at the same time, I had some downfalls to it. Honestly, my personal opinions, I feel like Dan Mullen was really the best coach out of all the coaches I had there. I feel like he brought the great offense. He brought back the Florida culture. Obviously, he was around the time when they won the chips and stuff. So I feel like, honestly, if we bring anybody back, I would want to probably bring Mullen back, man.
No. Come on.
Yeah, a lot of people don't feel like that.
Come on.
Dan does not like me.
I know he does it's a lot of beef around there. But I just feel like, man, he had our offense flowing the best. I mean, he was making it happen, and Florida was known for always having great defenses throughout the year. So that's really all we was missing. But that eventually fell off. That's what really made the decline of his coaching career, because basically all the good defense that McElwain had built up kind of died down over his years, and his offense began to get better. But then our defense started progressing, and he tried to go fire the defensive coordinator. That wasn't a problem, et cetera, et cetera. And
Well, I think going back to itself, I think the question or what you said, there's 2 different answers. Do you think, is there a scenario where he wins enough games that he's back? Yes. Do you have to know that is true, that the UAA, that Scott Strickland will look for a reason to keep him, versus do you personally, and that's every different person can have their own opinion, believe he should be back? Those 2 different things.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think honestly, man, you see the talent in the room as of now. Like, you see the young guys and they playing good. You see that he can bring talent into the school. I'm not fully sold on selling him yet. He's bought me back in the fact that now I think he has a chance to kind of turn this thing around. You kind of just got to give him time. he was dealt a pretty tough schedule considering, you feel me, everybody else's schedule. So I don't know. I agree with Slick, man. We should just let him play it out and just see where it goes from there. I mean, you're already there. The money's going to be spent regardless. So give him a chance.
Yeah,
this is my thing. I'm thinking timing. I'm thinking recruiting, which is obviously not doing great. The Gators lost a 4-star the other day, and we'll just kind of mention it. We don't really talk a ton of recruiting on this show. There's some other ones that do a little bit better, but right now I think the Gators are sitting 51 in recruiting right now. This is my thought, though. If you're going to keep Billy Napier and in a couple of weeks, do you make the announcement maybe before the season's over just to try to fight against that Billy Napier is getting fired? And I'm not saying that I agree with it or not, but do you think that that's a possibility just to try to solidify something in this recruiting class?
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt that other coaches are negatively recruiting against Florida. And like, I'm not going to tell fans how to tweet. If you want him fired and you want to tweet that, go ahead. But like, that's just like Kirby Smart. All he has to do is like pull up hashtag fire Billy Napier, or pull up Billy Napier, or just scroll through a phone.
Listen to this podcast.
Or who was doing a coaching hot board segment after week 7. I think we started doing it after week 4.
Earlier than that.
Get the ball rolling, baby.
You might have to come out and be like, listen, Billy Napier will be our coach next year.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, it would be smart, but if you knew, I just don't think they know.
Yeah.
No, because I mean, if you go last year, Florida was at 5 wins right before Georgia.
5-2.
They needed 1 win to hit that over, to go cash your ticket in Vegas, and they went 0-5. They went over the rest of the way. They're 1 win away from hitting the over of 4.5 that Vegas set before the year, with 5 games to get it. I think
that's why the first half was so important too. Like, it was important for him to get some of those wins that we let slip away, and we just wasn't like hot out the gate like we are
really
now.
Only one win that you let slip away. You really only let Tennessee slip away. Like,
no,
A&M that game wasn't that close.
That
game wasn't that close.
And we think that's coaching. Like, I don't think. Yeah, that's the point. Like, Texas A&M came with a true freshman quarterback, first time in the swamp, and went stupid. And we were just sitting there
brand
looking
new coach too.
With a brand new coach, year 1 in the swamp, fresh in the season, and they're just going crazy on us. And we watching our phenom just sit there twiddling his thumb on the sidelines while the offense is just chugging along. And
he played every other series. That's when they were doing
third series
quarterback hot potato against.
And he told Texas A&M before the game which series he's going to be playing. Like, hey, every 3rd, 5th, 7th series.
No, that was Mississippi State. That was Mississippi State. Mississippi State was 2 for 1. A&M was every other one. When both quarterbacks said, like, it was hard to get into a rhythm. Really? You think?
You can't. Go ahead, Dan. I'm sorry. I go on forever.
No. I was just going to say, I know a lot of people are saying, hey, just keep Billy for another year and then hire an offensive coordinator. There's people that would come, to University of Florida. Right? Yeah, there's an offensive coordinator that would go to the University of Florida. I just don't know if it's the names that you're thinking of are going to be making that jump. There's one name that I know that everybody's infatuated with that lives in Las Vegas that I think would go to the University of Florida, but completely different system than Florida's used to running. And if Billy Napier has one final year to figure it out with an offensive coordinator and you go demand that he hires one, either you've got to really, really hope it works out, or you got to be okay with some growing pains of a different offense coming in. Because all of the names that the chat wants and all of the names that are probably possibilities in a Billy Napier offense and Billy Napier coach team are not the same. There's not a lot of congruency.
Here's my fear, right?
Lane will lose out.
Maybe Lane
will lose out.
Lane's like, I don't even like, we got to talk about Lane on the board altogether, bro. It's a little iffy right now. But my biggest fear is us doing what Florida State did, where Norvell's looking terrible and then Jordan Travis goes stupid. And when go 13-0, they extend this guy, give him like this $80 million deal, obscene $65 million buyout, and then they win 1 game, right? So my biggest fear is Lagway just heroing us and him playing absolutely crazy generational football. We extend this guy, and then the next quarterback, even though he may be some blue chipper, he just ain't Lagway. And then we get a dud. We're back to, pre-Lagway football, and we got a crazy buyout, and the program hasn't made any progress. That's my biggest fear is us being Florida State.
Go full Florida State.
Can't go.
Yeah. So Corey pulled up the hot board from last week that you mentioned. We got Rhett Lashley, James Franklin, Lane Kiffin was barely on there. Marcus Freeman and Dan Lanning, you mentioned. You said probably not. Lincoln Riley was still there. I'm assuming that he's off.
He's gone.
And
Yeah,
then Cliff Kingsbury is on there as well. The chat's wanting to know more about your thoughts about all Pop.
Honestly, I've been impressed with how much influence you have, Corey. I think you're the first person that called a poor 62-year-old man Pop. And all I hear is people calling him Grandpa. He's not even old enough to file for retirement yet.
No, not yet.
You got him out here. You got him out here.
Hey, coaching, he's Pop.
You got him on a porch in a rocking chair talking about back in my day. Well, he's
up and coming. He's an up and coming 62-year-old coach, bro. Like he's making his rounds now as like a name and on hot board for the very first time. He's 62. I mean, by the end of his contract, he will be.
Indiana, one of only two schools, shout out to Army, one of only two schools not to have a single second trailed this season.
Yeah, and their average win is huge. I think it's like it's more than 14 points. Every win that they have, is by 14 points, I think, or more. But their average like margin of defeat is like by 30 points. I mean, they're putting it. I mean, and they're on the map now. Nick Saban called them out on the show last week or this week. Indiana is going to be hosting College Game Day this week for the first time ever on a Saturday. They hosted a Thursday game there one time, I guess. But Cignetti, I mean, Nebraska's not the same Nebraska that they've been. They've looked okay this year. He put a whooping on them. So I know Curt Cignetti's the name.
Yep.
Yeah,
I ain't mad at him being on the list. It's just watching Indiana's offense. The quarterback, they're making good, decisive plays. The play calling, but the offense isn't sexy to me. I just be concerned about just like his X's and O's and the quarterback. It just seems like you got to have the absolute right quarterback for the system. I don't think he's designing guys open. I don't see him schematically just getting guys open. A lot of those throws and plays they're making is contested, but they just flat out winning football games. Mm-hmm. So you just can't be mad at a guy that's just dominating his opponent week in, week out. There was some haters, some pop haters on the timeline saying, all right, they got Nebraska this week.
Yeah, and their
came out that bitch like put hands and feet on people, bro. Go ahead.
And I think their team's like 35 transfers too. So these are obviously he's a new coach this year, so it's a whole new system for everybody. But being able to put all those pieces together, I mean, we've watched. I mean, we're watching Florida State right now, failing miserably, doing the exact same thing that he's doing right now. Not saying that he's at the top of my list, but my fluid list, he's not off. Not off.
Not
they've
yet.
got I mean, not really a tough test. Washington isn't what it is. Shout out to Jed Fish. Then they're at Michigan State. They stink. But then they've got Michigan, Ohio State back to back.
That's when we'll find out a little bit of.
Yeah,
I mean, we gotta be like football, like savvy a little bit here too. Like they're outmatched a little bit when they're going against Ohio State and Michigan. So you got to take that with a grain of salt. But I want to see how competitive they are. I expect them to lose those games, but I want to see how they compete and how close they keep it. You feel me? And I think they could compete the whole game.
Well, they did lose their starting quarterback, so it might be a different ball game now. Indiana.
They did? I missed that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not gonna get a full picture of Cignetti. Lane just frightens me from this standpoint. Billy's offense looked better versus Kentucky. And also, he's still got to play Billy. And if he loses to Billy, you can't hire a guy that lost to Billy.
Can you imagine? That's the game that makes
Billy Napier is going to save his job by beating Lane Kiffin in the swamp. And then take a victory lap on Mike Norvell the next week.
He's going to reach out, try to be on the show. He's like, hey, guys, we're doing a coaching hot board segment. I'd like to be on. Special guest William Hall Napier.
They're playing Billy's music.
Yeah.
You got to put the old intro back on?
Yeah, I got to put we'll get the old intro back. My camera will be broken that day because I'm a coward. Looking in my eyeballs, you know. Any names, anybody that's surprising you, or anybody that you feel? I mean, Lincoln Riley, dud. I mean, they're having a bad year. You know what I mean? They brought down the entire Pac-12 just to go lose on the road at Maryland, and Minnesota.
That's nasty work.
Yeah, that's nasty. I mean, I know what Billy Napier's done is nasty work, but the Lincoln Riley tenure at USC is some preposterous.
I think Lincoln Riley gets bored fast, and it's like I don't know how invested he'd be at these programs. How he left Oklahoma frightens me. It was just like, hey, I don't want to be in the SEC. Soon as Oklahoma say they're in the SEC, he's out. So bringing him to an SEC program kind of frightens me. I don't think he really want to compete in this league. Then he goes out to the Pac-12.
Is that it, or have you seen the house that they provided him?
Yeah,
and the get out of jail in Norman, Oklahoma free card of living in Southern California, making $10.8 million a year in a free 9-bedroom mansion overlooking the Pacific Ocean.
Have you been to LA lately though?
If you're in LA,
from the South and you live in LA, like it's cool for a year, but to keep living there and to dealing with LA
life than any of us would live in LA.
Yeah, for sure. But I don't think he's feeling the vibes out there, and I don't think they're feeling him. I think he's gonna end up back in the South.
Yeah, Texas. He's from Lubbock. He's from Lubbock, Texas.
Lubbock stinks,
dude. It actually literally does stink. It smells like cow manure. I've been to Lubbock.
Lubbock stinks.
It's a big agriculture town, right? But it actually smells like cow poop. Like it's bad.
Whatever, but Lubbock stinks.
Yeah, Lubbock does stink.
Spent 1 week out there.
You were in Lubbock?
Went there for regional. Florida played at Texas Tech for a regional.
Oh, that's cool. Jordan, anything that you want to add? This is your time to say anything.
Thoughts on Lubbock?
No, just in general on the coaching hot board. Hopefully you've never been to Lubbock, Jordan.
Right now, I've never been, but as far as the coach's hot board go, man, I feel like y'all hit a lot of the good names. I feel like Florida State's Mike Norvell may be on that hot seat, obviously. Who would I want to come into Florida necessarily? I really don't know, because I don't know if I want an offensive-minded coach, a defensive-minded coach, or somebody that's going to recruit. I feel like we're all over the place when we're coming to pick a coach and like, oh, we need an offense, or we need a guy that's going to recruit. Like, I really don't know what the answer is. To be completely honest with you, I think Napier did a great job of bringing talent in here. I think we have a lot of talent on the team. Young guys that are talented, transfers that are talented. I think he's doing a great job of that. So if it was to be a new coaching change, I think they would inherit a good team. And I feel like we just need to really figure out what we need. Do we need that premier defense that's just going to hold teams to under 28 points and try to win the ball game like that, or whatever the case may be? Or are we trying to go for a high-powered offense? I mean, it is a passing league now and all over the place. So are we trying to – I just feel like we need to figure out what we want to do and just kind of plant our eggs in one basket.
I've seen this narrative that Billy hasn't embraced former players. You said you mentioned that he invited you back, or when you came back, you were welcome. So is that a false narrative that I'm seeing, that like he's not embracing former players, not allowing them to come back? Because I see a bunch of former guys at practices when we're out there.
Yeah, Steve Harris be out there too. I'll be seeing players there.
From what I've heard, and he's obviously welcomed me with open arms. I mean, he's a great dude, and he definitely wants the former players to come back and kind of just, teach the younger guys the culture, teach the younger guys how it's done. So I believe that is a false narrative. Maybe some dude who's just maybe mad that they didn't get a coaching job or something, talking some crap. So, yeah, for the most part, he welcomed me, man. He was a cool dude. His coaches was cool. I met the running back coach, and they were all good guys.
Running back coach has some shoe game. My guy is walking around in Travis Scott fragments in the rain. I looked at him like, bro, are you crazy? Because I got 2 more pairs. Yeah. You're the actual plug. You're the actual plug.
I like Jaluk a lot.
We didn't do the coaching award, so
we did not do the coaching award. No,
do it next show. It's all good.
Yeah, we'll do the next show.
To the mat.
All right. Yeah, I mean, not a lot of movement on the board this week. James Franklin still on the list, but we'll see. Obviously, this is all conjecture. I know somebody said let's see how the season finishes before we fire Billy Napier. I know that's a prevailing thought by a very small group of people. But yeah, I think that we do this because we see the writing on the wall. But shout out to a win this weekend.
Shout out to
and
Mudkip Plays, who continues to put me on the head coaching hot board.
And
as
shout
long
out
as we
to the
negotiate, as long as we can agree to a nice buyout, I will accept the job.
Okay, I like that. Will you still show up to the show? Cancel media availability.
It depends on
work.
what happened the Saturday previous to the show.
I can see that. Yeah, that works.
Jordan will be my running backs coach.
Yeah, baby.
I'm gonna start building out a coaching staff.
Just get all the fan favorites. Hire Kerwin Bell, Cade Bell. Who else?
I gave you guys everything you wanted.
Yeah, everything you want. Ahmad Black, Brandon Spikes to be the linebacker coach. That's my favorite. It's like, why don't we hire Tim Tebow to be the coach? Like,
quarterback coach.
Tim Tebow is married to Miss Universe, makes a crap ton of money every year. And never coached a game of football in his life. I don't think Tim Tebow is going to be the head coach of the University of Florida, nor do I want him to be. At least now. You know what I mean? That brings us to the end of the show, boys.